It's not about sales. It's not about selling. It's about like developing, like buying and culture and creating those kinds of systems. But fundamentally, you are selling. Like you're selling every single day in the weight room. Like these kids don't want to put 400 pounds on their back. They don't want to wake up at 6 a.m. Like you're selling them on the idea of how this is going to make them better, how this is going to prevent injury, all of these things. And I think that I forget what the actual question was, but I think that that idea of selling is something that I've had to I really embrace, and now I see it as it's not some evil, schemy, gross thing. It's identifying a problem. It's providing a solution through value, and helping somebody get to where they need to go because you have the solution that could help them.
I think
Yeah, I
you know
100% agree. Oh, go ahead. You go, Nando.
you guys, big on language and communication, and of course, most of the people hopefully know what the art of coaching is about. But the sales thing, I definitely had that feeling before when you use words like selling or negotiation, you somehow associate that with someone being a car salesman or someone who's trying to give you something that's a deal for them, but not for yourself. So maybe it just tracks back to the concept of someone selling you something as making a profit from yourself rather than just saying, hey, I have something that you need, or this is what you want, and there's an exchange. So probably money or interest gets associated with the word, but the same as negotiation sounds like a hostage situation, or I'm trying to stay on top of you. Yeah, mate, I read different kinds of book in English, and I sometimes the ones that they're American based and they're like the FBI agent wrote this and the SWAT team, and they all sound like life or death, and I need something from you, and someone's going to win and someone's going to lose. Whereas it could be that it's good for both. Like the coach gets the message across because wants to help the athlete, and the athlete buys in instead of buying. Maybe that tempo between buying in and buying is different. Buying sounds like hit the bait, wheel him in.
Well, I love what you're saying because I think we like to say meanings are in people, not in words. And it's not just selling, and it's not just negotiation, because I agree with you. I think they have this negative connotation in at least our culture, but it's words like power and influence and manipulation. And if you actually like look at the definitions of these words, like the first definition of manipulation in the dictionary, what do you think that is?
I think
Something
it's,
with your
I mean,
hands.
I know what, I actually don't know. I don't know. Oh, it is? Hands?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
skillfully wield a tool or
All right, Nando.
right, exactly. The second definition is a little bit more of the traditional one, like to get somebody to do something, forcefully or willfully. But the first one, like you think about it, like a physical therapist manipulates somebody's, joints, right, through a range of motion. Like a mechanic manipulates the vehicle to, it's all about skillfully wielding or moving or changing something in space. And again, it's how we've adopted these terms to think that they're negative when, understanding really what they mean allows us to kind of reclaim what they can help us do. Because power is not a bad thing. Power is like power in the strength and conditioning sense has one definition, right? But power with people defines our capacity, like it's potential energy, if you will, to influence behavior or influence change. So all of us, three of us, have power, what we call power bases. Power dynamics exist between us, and I think it's very common to think in a dynamic of two people, right? Like one person has the power in that situation, but really that's because we've defined power in a very binary way. Power being like hierarchical, right? Which is one type of power. That's what we call legitimate power. So like a CEO has legitimate power over an employee, or a head strength coach has legitimate power over an athlete. But there's other kinds of power. So there's what we call like referent power, which is likability and trust. So like Justin, like I feel like we have referent power. Like I know you, I've met you, I like you, I trust you, which is what another kind of power that exists between us. And actually the strongest type of power is referent power, because if somebody likes you and trusts you, they'll run through a freaking wall for you, right? So
If you
Yeah, and
call
that's what
someone-
I mean. That's what real strength and conditioning is.
Yeah, if you call someone
Like,
manipulative,
that is what
like,
it is.
who's going to say it's something positive? Like 9 out of 10 are going to say it's a bad thing. Like you're puppeteering, or you're trying to I don't even know, like trick someone or deceive someone. But
Right.
like you said, it's not really. I don't think anyone's ever used that I know of, like that word in a good sense. Like, oh, he's so manipulative. Like he gets us all going.
I can't wait for the day that I just hear,
Yeah, I love
hear
him.
somebody on a podcast
So
be like,
manipulative.
oh
Love
man,
him.
what a good bloke, just freaking manipulative as all hell. I love it.
I've met this girl.
I
She's
mean-
so manipulative. My mom's gonna love her.
But I mean, if you think like I've heard either, I forget who it said, but it was like, okay, if you use the negative connotation of manipulative, it's getting somebody to do something against their will, right? That is ultimately probably not best for them. Versus leadership's the same thing. Like you're trying to get somebody to do something that maybe they don't want to do, but ultimately is best for them. So they are very different. It's just, I mean, we talked about your parents off air before, right? It's probably about just like how our parents have ingrained it in us, and then all the power of the words that we use, because like you did say, words have power. So it's how it gets passed down generation to generation. So we can start using the word manipulative for better if we want, starting right now.
Yeah, and I'm kind of a nerd about this kind of stuff, and I agree with that, because like words have changed definition over time. Like what's the word, passion, right? Like comes from this word passio, which it means suffering, right? Like you think Passion of the Christ, right? With
Yeah.
the Mel
The
Gibson
movie.
film.
Yeah.
And so that word used to mean something very different than I think what we would associate the word to mean now, which is somebody who goes after their values or their dreams or their goals with vigor and tenacity, if you will. It's associated with something much more positive now, if not has become completely cliche and trite. But I don't think that we're beyond a point where all of the words that we're using now couldn't mean something in the future. So, and it's only going to be expedited with AI and technology that changes the way that we talk and communicate. But I think that's something that we feel strongly at Art of Coaching about, is equipping people with the definitions for these words and for these ideas and terms, so that you can then best use them instead of just like being scared of them or hiding from them. Like we need them in order to operate most skillfully in a very social dynamic environment, such as coaching, such as leadership, such as life.
I think that's one of the things y'all do a really good job of too, is like clearly defining things, because as you mentioned it earlier in what you were saying, but if over at Art of Coaching, How to Communicate Better, us at Strength Coach Network, we're bridging the gap between university and real life. And if you view it as, hey, I'm really just offering you, like, this is truly the best thing. We're not manipulative in the bad term. We're not trying to sell you something that you don't need. There's a legitimate gap. If you think about research, you're supposed to find where the gap is in prior research, and we're trying to serve everybody else. Like, look, there is an issue here, and we're trying to fix it. And like you said, it's not a negative thing to be selling it. It's like, no, I have to tell you because I can actually change your life for the better. And once a strength coach can, because that's our population here listening, a majority, but once they can make that change, I think that's when they can start to have confidence in themselves, because, we talked about the metrics before. They don't have a metric that they can kind of, put their flag down on.
Yeah, it's such a good point. I think. Oh man, bridging that gap and finding solutions, that is business. That's entrepreneurship. And I think the more we can think of ourselves as business people, or in the business, we are in business. All of us are, as strength coaches. That's something I never understood when I was in it. And now looking back, I'm like, oh man, like there's so many things that I'm learning now about business that I wish I would have known. And
Congratulations on making it to the end of the video. Why don't you celebrate by watching more videos just like it? You can also help us on our quest to placate the algorithm gods by liking, sharing, subscribing, and commenting. Thank you.